Well, I've been involved in tall buildings for over a decade. I've been a member of the Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat for many years. I guess what's particularly exciting this year is that it's the first time it's come to London since 2001. And it just seems like the right time and place, given what's happened over the last decade in London and the incredible array of tall buildings that are changing the skyline. We're expecting at least 800 people to the conference in June. A couple of days of speeches and debates, some of which will be lively, I'm sure. And on the third day, we're going to have a whole series of technical tours of most of the buildings that we're familiar with, including a walking tour of the city by Peter Rees. So I think all in all, it's going to be pretty exciting.
I've kind of got a very interesting topic, which is actually understanding the economics of building tall in historic cities. And I think London is a great example of that. And I think actually if you go back 10 years and look where this started and this new crop of tall buildings came, the challenges were very different from the classic tall building on a city block. You had a whole set of new drivers, which, you know, the micro scale of the ground plane, how you function with the historic nature of the building and address those. And I think what's been really quite exciting, if you look at those buildings, I think the designers have had to come up with some fantastic innovations to actually deliver those buildings. And those innovations have actually now started to challenge what I would call the classic tall building. In fact, we've got buildings that are actually much more efficient, they've got better net to gross. Yes, they cost slightly more, but the real question is that this is offset by an increase in net to gross. So the viability of these buildings is now beginning to affect other buildings, and I think that innovation, that step change, has been, as is often in design, by necessity. So we've moved the whole thing forward. So I want to kind of address some of those innovations, understand how they've affected this crop of buildings here, and how they might well be applied to the next generations of tall buildings around the world.
I think what we find most interesting over the last 10 years is exactly this interest in the urban design, in the context of how a tall building actually sits within the context of the city, and especially in London. The olden days when you can just build a tower in an empty space and lots of green land around it are long gone. And what's really interesting recently is how all these new buildings, and some of them projected, not built yet, actually address and create parts of the city. The Shard is a classic example of build over a transport hub, creating a really vibrant mixed-use place, and bringing something more than just tallness and a landmark status to the area. So we think it's really interesting development of the idea of a tall building, which wasn't definitely there 10, 20 years ago.
I think it's also, I think the conference is a unique opportunity. So I think over the years of this conference, it's become stronger and stronger, and actually what you are getting is 800 people who are focused on a very particular product, from urban to the built, to the building it, to making it work, making it function. And I think the kinds of debates that we're going to have at this conference, I think will generate a step change going forward. And so I think that's quite exciting, because you have got the world's best professionals at this conference in this field, and that synergy, that osmosis, is not easy to achieve without conferences like this. So I think it's going to be an exciting June, and the city is ripe for this. It's got some great buildings being built. We're going to see some fantastic things.